Deep dropping, whether you're going to go do it all day or if it's just the trip saver to put a little meat in the box before you head to the house. Angelo DePaola, the Coastal Connection here at J&M Tackle, the Gulf Coast foremost outfitter as always. I got the man, the myth, the legend, Carson Hall here. We're going to break down the deep drop rig. We're going to build you one up real quick. Of course, you can come over here and just buy them pre-made like I do. But if you got the time and you've got the desire, we're going to show you how he likes to make them, how I like to fish them. And Carson, break it down for us.
Pretty simple. I use 400 pound for my main line coming down, and I pull off about, full arm length and then a little bit more just to make sure I got enough to work with.
Very scientific.
Yeah. I start with building a loop at the top. So I'm just going to build me a little loop, pull it down about the size I need for a snap swivel to go for my deep drop rig. And then once I do that, I come down, I'm going to go ahead and slide my swivel sleeves on. I use the 2.0s, and putting a little angle cut helps these things to slide on real well.
Man, I love these over the three-way swivel. Well, A, it's quicker to rig.
Yeah, it really is. This one's been a little difficult, of course.
But, I mean, the three-ways, when you're done with the rig and you got to coil it all back up, when you got to take it out, it's just a freaking tangled mess with hooks going into all the swivels.
They are. It's so much easier to deal with this right here. I go ahead and I build mine with 4 hooks. Some guys do 3, some guys do 5.
You know what? This is what I found interesting about the 4 hook. Like one time I was going to go Garbone and rig me up a 10 hooker. What I found was the last 5 set of hooks are so far off the bottom, especially for tall fish. They're not coming up that far, yeah. But the grouper quite often don't either unless you're just like on virgin ground. And right. There's not a lot of that left out here. No. So like 4 hooks, 5 hooks, I think for me, that's kind of where I'm at on it. And it just makes it easier to deal with in the boat. You know, you build these big, long rigs, you got 20 foot a leader. I mean, it's just a mess.
Yeah, I personally like my rig short so that I can swing my rod around and walk my rig out, put my weight in a rod holder and keep it stretched out. It makes it easy to put baits on and everything. But what I like to do is put about a foot between my loop and my first swivel sleeve. So I'm just going to measure that. That's pretty good right there. And then I'll just crimp these down. And then I do a foot between the next one.
Look, if you have a rigging table at your house, make sure you get this measuring tape on here. I mean, it just makes life easy.
It's the best $3 you'll ever spend on your rig and bench.
I mean, there's things that you should buy as a fisherman and do as a fisherman that just make your life easy. A good set of pliers, a good set of crimpers, and a measuring tape on your bench rig, on your rigging bench. Best money you'll spend. Carson, do y'all rig all the deep drop rigs y'all make here? Or are those pre-made?
We buy them all pre-made. We just don't have the time to
build
those. We started at first, and then deep dropping got so popular we didn't have a choice but to start buying them, and we still run out. And so I cut this about 14 inches underneath the last one, and that's just going to give me room to make a loop and attach a snap swivel to the bottom. Don't put anything expensive on here, and I've found don't put too big or heavy duty because sometimes your weights get hung up, and I'd rather just lose my weight instead of my whole rig.
I'm like you. I was like, that's great advice if you're going to build your own. Like you go big, it's not your weight actually. That's what tends to get hung up the most is what I find.
Especially towel fishing in the mud, they just get buried in the mud, and a lot of times it's just tough to pull it out.
Yeah.
So once I've got this is your main rig right here. And now what we're going to do is I use 200-pound for my drop, for my snoots. I like a little 5-aught owner Mutu hook. It works really well on small stuff and big stuff. It's strong, it's sharp, and just works really well.
Yeah, that's one of the things is you see a lot of deep drop rigs and you see a lot of big hooks on them. I just think, you're going to miss more fish than you're going to catch.
I think a lot of people oversize their hooks. I've always leaned towards a smaller hook, and it works really well for me, especially like in flies. I tie my own flies, and I've caught big fish on the tiniest of hooks, and small hooks work. I mean, you don't have to have a big hook to catch a big fish.
100% agree.
All right, and because I did a foot between each one of these swivels, I'm gonna cut my snoots 5 inches. And what that does, when you do your crimp off the swivel and the hook, it won't let the two hooks touch one another and become tangled. And that's the reason that I measure it out like that. You don't, if you're building it out on the boat because you lost everything, I mean, it doesn't have to be exact.
So while he's kind of breaking this down, look, we're fishing groupers, we're fishing tilefish, we're fishing tilefish over mud bottom typically. What you need to look for, you can see it on your chart plotter, is where the lines are spread out real far. That's going to indicate a flat bottom, and most of our bottom out here is mud. That's where the tilefish are going to be. I mean, what I've found over the years, what I've learned from fishing with a lot of different people, and having done this commercially in my younger days, is that you can just drop down randomly in the Gulf of Mexico in these kind of areas and drift around, and you will come across these fish. It's actually kind of freaky how abundant they are. Now there are certain areas, and I'm not going to tell you my honey holes, that they're thicker than others, but if you want to go out and find them, that's the kind of spots I'll look for. On the grouper, I mean, look, there's all kinds of Seymour maps. There's strike lines. There's all these people that have mapped the bottom. There's a lot of rocks out there. You can certainly be successful doing that. The problem with that is that everybody has those numbers, and like Carson said earlier, the fishery has gotten extremely popular, so it's gotten harder to catch them. What's also interesting about the Gulf of Mexico, there's a lot of really hard sandy bottom with aggregate, and if you look on your bottom machine when it's zoomed in, there's a difference in what the bottom looks like when it's soft mud and when it's hard aggregate. It's a lot deeper, darker red. It comes to it really hard. You can drift across those areas if you don't have your own spots, and you will come across rocks. When you come across one, mark it, come back and fish it. And those are small spots. And the other thing you'll notice is groupers especially, you're not looking for big, these places are not going to come up 15, 20 feet off the ground. They're going to be 6 inches to 2-3 feet of relief. You've got to zoom your bottom machine into no more than 20 feet, because if you're in 800, 700, 1,000 foot of water, you're not going to see that little bit of relief if you're covering the whole water column.
All right, now what I did here, I took my 5-inch pieces and went ahead and crimped it to my hook. And I do a real small loop here, just enough so that it can kind of move around, but nothing really extra. And I don't want it tight either where it would sit like this. So I'm gonna take another sleeve, slide it on my leader, and go to my swivel sleeve. And again, I'm gonna pull it down, not where it's tight, but I don't want a big loop either. And this is how I build mine. I would do all 4 of this identical, but for the video, I'm gonna show you There's these glow crimp protectors and glow beads. These also work really well. Some people really like them. Putting this on your leader can help also with to get bites or attract fish.
Now you got it backwards. Did you mean to do that?
I did.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't want the larger end to slide down over the hook.
All right. I just learned something new.
Yeah, I'll show you in just a second when I get done. Because I did it backwards, I can now slide this down like that up to my swivel, and it keeps the rig out a little.
Oh man, I like it. Carson dropping knowledge bombs on us this afternoon.
And then the other thing, like I said, glow beads work really well. Plentiful, cheap option to add a little bit of glow.
I like the glow beads. I like the chafe gear. I don't like the glow squid. I've tried it. I just did not work for me. I know people that have caught a lot of fish with them. It's not me.
I'm just a simplest when it comes to my rigging. I mean, I want a bait and a hook. And it's
bait
in
and a hook.
most things in all my fishing. You know, I find the less you put down there, the more you're rewarded with.
Now I do find a light attached to this apparatus helps, but it's not mandatory. I've had a lot of times where I forgot to put the light and caught plenty of fish.
And I've had people tell me instances like that. I'm a firm believer in no light, no bite.
Like, you know what? I'm a big believer of the light. For me, I'm a green guy. Like I've always said, I think green is the most important color. And Carson, so you were telling me, like, it was interesting because we were talking about this before the video, and you said, "Hey, look, I'll get a bite. I'm coming up right away."
If I drop and as soon as my weight hits the bottom and I get a nibble, I'm immediately pulling back up and putting another bait on because 99% chance it's gone off the bottom hook, and that's the one that catches most of the fish for me. And when it gets like that too, I'll also take a little wax line and just throw a couple of half hitches on my hook and my bait just to hold it on there better.
So here's me. I'm like the exact opposite of that. I'm such a greedy fool that, like, if I get the bite, I'm dropping the bait back if I don't hook them, especially when you're tile fishing, because you're kind of drifting and you're covering ground anyways. Is that, like, I feel like you come across these little pockets or colonies of fish, and like if I can hook one, that's great. But if I got to reel up 800 feet, it takes a couple minutes. I want to hook 2 or 3 and make my drop worth it. So sometimes it pays off and I catch 2, 3 fish at a time. Sometimes it doesn't pay off. I don't catch anything because what you said happens a lot. You get the bite on the bottom hook or the top hook, because I usually put my bite up here, and the middle hooks, for whatever reason, I don't know, don't get bites. But everybody has a prerogative on it. Carson, I love this rig because it's short, it's easy to store, it's easy to deal with when you're in the boat.
Yeah, pulling your weights over the side.
Yeah. Any other tips you want to give us before we roll out on this video?
Keep a light hook gaff nearby, and when you're catching a big fish and he comes halfway up and he pulls loose, that fish is going to probably float up nearby. Once you get them off the bottom a little bit, that swim batter explodes, or it doesn't explode, but swells up, and they can't swim back down. If you lose a big fish, keep your eyes peeled, watch around the boat a couple hundred yards, you're probably going to see them float up and roll over there and gaff them.
Great tip. Have had that happen multiple times. Look, as always, if you need tackle, if you need fishing advice, you just want to pick these guys' brains, Carson Hall, the whole crew over here at J&M, they're not just tackle dudes. These guys actually fish, all of them. They're avid fishermen. They love to share knowledge. They're just those kind of guys. Hit them up. If you need real estate advice, if you want to just chit chat with me, get an idea what your house is worth, hit me up. Angelo DePaola, the Coastal Connection. Keep some fish for tomorrow. Don't keep them all. Keep your garbage in the boat. We'll catch you next time.